Good morning. It's Monday morning, week 2 of digital learning. We're going to talk about the costume and wardrobe department. This is art department. It's unit 4, so it's 4.4. It's going to go along with your unit 4.4 costume and wardrobe study guide. So while you're listening and watching, you may want to fill that out, and I'll try to make sure I hit on every point that is on the study guide for you to fill in. Okay, so the costume, also known as the wardrobe department, is a separate department under the art department, and they're responsible for all the clothing that is worn by performers on screen, whether that be a lead actor, the background actor or extras, or even a stunt driver or stunt actor. Wardrobe are used interchangeably, but there really is a difference between the two. So what you see over here, Oprah Winfrey as Sophia in the color purple. That is an example of costume. So she is wearing a particular costume and to convey the character that she's trying to portray in the story. On your right side, you have Oprah Winfrey dressed like maybe for a magazine or for an award show. That is wardrobe. So wardrobe is worn when people are not performing or acting. Okay, so the costume designer is a very important job. It's a position that designs the clothing to be worn by the characters, and they work very closely with overall production design. Okay, some considerations that they must consider are the fabric, the colors, the actors' sizes, and the characters that they convey and the story that's trying to be conveyed. So on your notes, it says the things that a costume designer must consider. So you should have fabric, colors, the actor sizes, the character they're conveying, and the story that's being conveyed. Let's take a look at this video and learn a little bit more about costume design.
Behind every memorable character is a memorable costume, and behind every costume is a costume designer. Their job is to create a look for each character that serves the needs of the story, sometimes to make a character stand out from the crowd, sometimes to blend into one, but always to make sure that they're clothed in the appropriate attire.
That's the definition of good costuming. That is the most appropriate. That's the most appropriate thing for the character to be wearing in any scene.
Deciding on what would make for the most appropriate outfit requires a deep understanding of character and story.
As a costume designer, sometimes we're more like psychologists, figuring out our characters, where they would shop, what kind of clothes they would wear, how messy or neat they were, where their station in life. And basically we set the time and the place with our costumes.
The first step to designing a great costume is understanding the script. For each character to feel believable, you have to consider everything about that character when designing their wardrobe. Where they're from, their financial situation, how fashionably conscious they are, and not to mention the specific context of each scene. Princess Anne in Roman Holiday should be wearing something elegant while fulfilling her royal duties, and something rather dressed down while incognito in Rome.
This is what we call transformation through wardrobe. The main thing is that I want to be very sure and explain to you that fashion is not the primary thing, the primary effort in motion pictures is to tell a story.
A good costume designer knows how to analyze a screenplay much like an actor would, to get inside the head of the character, to develop an understanding of the world that that character belongs to, and to design the wardrobe accordingly. After a thorough reading of the script, the costume designer will begin conversations with the director. Each director will have their own unique vision for any given project, and it's that vision that every crew member on a film should be working towards. Those conversations are crucial to understanding what themes are going to be explored, the transformations a character may go through, and how the costume should reflect that. How color can be used to subtly imply a character's pride in their heritage and subsequent journey to a new country, or how it can show us that a character has fallen in love, or to show us that a character has fallen out of it. A costume can show us a character following in his father's footsteps, a character's descent into a criminal underworld where moral lines become increasingly blurred. Once the vision has been established, the costume designer will often enter the research phase, an essential part of the process that doesn't just apply to a period piece, but even something like fantasy or sci-fi, because more often than not, you're pulling from real-world examples to influence your design. But even a contemporary piece still necessitates research to understand the culture or economy of any given setting and the characters that exist within. Creative license is often taken, the level of which is ultimately up to each director and designer, but understanding why something is designed a certain way allows a designer to create a costume that feels convincing within its narrative. This of course involves further collaboration with other crews, such as the hair and makeup department or the production designer, to follow the same guidelines as far as color palette or tone, to make sure that each costume can fall into place within the larger tapestry. Before any design is manufactured, it starts as a sketch. Not only does this allow for quick changes if a certain fabric or color isn't working with the rest of the crew's designs, but most importantly, it saves the entire production valuable time and money. It also gives the costume designer the opportunity to explore their best options based on things like budget, the specific actor, or a costume's functionality. Say, designing an outfit that can cover the stunt rigging for Neo in The Matrix. But whatever criteria may be influencing different design decisions, I think the most important thing to realize about costume design is that everything you see a character wearing, from the lead actors to the background extras, is designed. Once sketches have been finalized, the crew will begin manufacturing the costumes. Sometimes things can be pulled from a shelf or rack, but the vast majority of costumes have to be manufactured to maintain continuity.
All of these clothes are manufactured. Okay, designed and manufactured. Why? Fight Club. So many fights, right?
You could not just buy a piece. You had to have
Doubles, triples, quadruples, right?
This is the thing most people also don't realize, that the clothes don't deteriorate through the course of making a movie. Every scene in which they're deteriorated is a separate piece.
The scale of the production is entirely based on the size of the budget and what's needed for each film, but it's not unusual to have hundreds of people working on costumes for any given project. Expert tailors, cobblers, blacksmiths, tanners will all come together to craft the costumes that you see on screen. But it's that dedication to the craft, to getting every single detail right, that makes these movies great. Costumes help to tell us something about a character and the world they inhabit. They aid the actor in the transformation process and help them to deliver their best performance. They become important pieces of iconography surrounding any classic character whose outfit is often the most recognizable part about that character.
The costumes that stick in your mind are the ones that the character has inhabited and the character has really come alive in, and that's why you remember them. That's the goal, I think.
So let's rewind just a little bit here.
That fashion is not the primary thing, the primary effort in motion.
Edna, thank you for talking with us. My first question is, you've created designs for people all over the world and now Hollywood. So tell me about a fashion fiasco that you would rather forget.
I'd rather forget the way I am portrayed in this movie. That is the fiasco.
Edna in The Incredibles was designed after the famous costume designer Edith Head. So just an interesting fact for you there. Next, we'll talk about costume supervisors and what they do. Okay, so the costume supervisor focuses on the administrative or logistical concerns, like getting the costumes from point A to point B and where they're being purchased. They also manage the costume shop, and they oversee the purchase or construction of the garments, hiring and firing of the staff, and the budgeting and paperwork. So you will see on your notes, it says the costume supervisor does what? So you would want to put that right there. They oversee the purchase or construction of the garments. They hire and fire staff. They handle the budgeting and paperwork. They manage the costume shop and oversee the administrative and logistical concerns in executing the designs. Set costumers assist the performers in dressing before they go on set, while key costumers will dress the star talent and oversee the other costumers. A costume standby is on set during the shoot to maintain quality and continuity. So they want to make sure that everything is just the same as when they were filming before, because of course sometimes shoots can go on for days, months, years. Okay, a fitter may also be on set for any sewing needs as they go along. In your notes, it may ask about two other people that are on set. That's the costume standby and the cutter or fitter. In the costume workshop, you have seamstresses and tailors that will custom fit costumes to fit the actors. You have dyers and finishers that add the final touches to the costume's look. Just like if they wanted a costume to look aged or worn, they have to break it down. Costume buyers are hired on to purchase fabric, and some performers may even bring their own shoppers, especially for modern day styles. On page 3 of your notes, you're going to answer these questions. We're going to watch a clip from Enchanted, and you're going to tell me, number 1, how many costumes do you identify? Number 2, did the costumes match the overall production design? 3, which costumes were bought by a costume buyer and which were created in a costume workshop? And 4, did any costumes require an ager? So let's look at that clip.
Hello, old man. Oh. May I sit with you? Oh. I'm very tired. I'm scared. I've never been this far away from home before. I'm not sure at all where I am. If somebody could show me just a bit of kindness, a friendly hello, or even a smile, I'm sure that would lift my spirits so much. Oh, you have a lovely smile. Oh! Where are you going? It's mine! Oh, come back here! I need that! You are not a very nice old man!
Okay, so you may need to rewind that back a couple times to answer those questions on page 3. But that concludes today's notes and PowerPoints. If you have any questions, feel free to email me directly, send me a message in Google Classroom, or Remind. I will also be completing a video on the project that you have for this week. To explain that, I will post that as well. Have a good day.